There's a saying in Dublin, much, and it's what it says. How much is that thing? This is the Cupra Born. It starts at low 30s, early 30,000 euro, including the full grant of 5,000 euro from those nice people in the government and the SEAI. Well, the SEAI are all right. It's the government. Anyway, brand new car. It is essentially a Volkswagen ID3 in a slightly different dress. But you know what? The ID3 is probably going to be upset because I just wonder well, first of all, the copper on the front and that nose, it's a bit more interesting than the ID3. It's got little grooves here. There's no frunk under there. It's just cables and washer fluid and stuff like that. Again, big nose under here. Cupra badge. We drove past a couple of builders on the way up here today and they were checking this out big time. It's on 18-inch alloy wheels. They're the standard ones, Cyclone they're called. And that will definitely help the ride quality. But if you want to upgrade, of course you can. Cupra will take your money. Roof and windscreen angle, exactly like the ID3. Decals over the side, half them plastic, half them kind of black polished. So they're not actually transfers. I get the vibe in the ID3 that they kind of are transfery. You get slightly different colour mirror housing. Just the divider in the ID3, from memory that feels shallower, but I don't know. I really love that Cupra badge. LED lights on your car. This is an 800 euro optional extra paint colour, but it really works with the grey and the copper. You've got a 45 kilowatt hour battery, 58 kilowatt hour battery and a 77 kilowatt hour battery. The higher performance one has up to 230 brake horsepower. That's more than the ID3. And then you have 204 brake horsepower. So there's basically a boost function that will give it an extra bit of oomph. But you know what? I don't think it needs it. Now, it still has that Cupra rigidness and sharpness about the steering. I've been impressed by that. And of course, well, if you know me and any Cupras I've had on this channel so far, you'll know how much I love the backs of them. And this Born does not disappoint. Cupra strip, that's their signature thing now. Cupra, don't ever change that, please. Great diffuser here, that look nice against different colours. Cupra badge, big ass spoiler, huge. And your extra brake light here. And then the boot, it's like an ID3 boot. There is a massive lip. A little bit of a storage area down here for some cables. There's your Type 2. I'm not seeing a granny. Hello granny. No granny's here. 12 volts, white LED, light, tethering hooks. It's just your standard boot, you know, it's kind of a bit bigger than a Golf or a Leon. Parcel shelf is here. This does not have an electric tailgate. I don't know if it needs it because it's light and it's easy to use it. That's quite a small window, just for reference, but you do get a camera inside. 2 USB-C charger points, no air vents back here, no armrest back here. Decent head height back here. Cutouts in the Cupra kind of high-shouldered seats. All this material kind of feels a bit recycly, which I suppose it should be in an EV. The leg room is good. You can fit your legs, feet more than legs, under the seat. There's pockets here. No individual pockets for devices and stuff like you might get on an ID3. By the way, if you want to watch my original video of the ID3 or living with an ID3 or any electric vehicle for that matter, I'll pop the link up here, and also you can watch it at the end of the video. Flat floor, as you get in this platform of vehicle, and the plastics here, there's nice textures to them, but it's still quite hard plastic in the back. Only thing you can really criticise, but space-wise. And you know what? The seat, the back of the support for your thighs comes reasonably far out. Some cars fall short of that, and it means the back of your legs aren't quite supported on longer journeys. If you get the 77 kilowatt hour battery, that's the biggest one, the most expensive one. That can do 125 kilowatt charging. The middle car can do 100, that's the 58. And the smallest battery will do the slowest charging speed. 50 kilowatt charger from 5 to 80% takes 42 minutes. The fastest option, 125 kilowatt charging, biggest battery. There's 4 minutes of the difference between the slowest charger and 125 kilowatts charging, but the battery is vastly different in size. So it's not actually, it's 4 minutes, but like, yeah, it's not really 4 minutes if you get me. The 125 is good. I mean, we're still few and far between with chargers. Ionity will charge these cars faster, will reach those speeds, but generally your ESB ones, they're just not there yet. And we need to get faster. So your Type 2 cable and your CCS go in here. And it also has an 11 kilowatt onboard charger if you go for the mid and higher spec Born. So there's some good options, a little bit of future proofing going on in there as we film in early 2022. Come back to me 5 years later, I may not be saying the same thing. On those charging speeds and ranges, 340, 420 and just over 500 kilometers up to. That depends on temperature, how fast you're going, but yeah, you could do that. It's well over 300 kilometers as I sit here in this car, fully charged. It's got 625 kilometers in the clock, so still fairly new. These are pre-production cars as well. So actually the way this slopes down here, on the Irish models of the car, this centre piece will actually slope up this way, and there'll be a roller on it to keep everything out of prying eyes. You'll have some wireless charging down here, more storage, more USBs, the same net that you get in the ID3s in the front. Criticism, assuming this isn't going to change, there's no height adjustment on the armrest. That's kind of disappointing. It's down here. What isn't disappointing is the Cupra steering wheel. Man, I love them. Now, spoiler alert, they have put haptic buttons like Volkswagen on them. Those of you that aren't sure about them, you want to get your head around it, because I don't think it's going anywhere. I love the screen, straight out of any of the other Cupra and Seat products, angled towards the driver. A little bit of a nice finish here. I do think that actually, the ID3 gets awful abuse for the interior. It really does. It's not bad, but every so often its cousins come along and do something a bit nicer. And it's the same with this. Just a touch of copper, a touch of this. That's all we're looking for, ID3. That's all we want. But yeah, it's kind of nice. Now, what is the same is the controller here for drive, neutral, reverse, B mode for regen braking, and your handbrake, all controlled by this. That is all the same as the ID3, as is the instrument display, and the finicky control switches for rear windows and stuff like that. But steering wheel, God, I love their steering wheels. They're so nice, very, very nice. The seats are comfortable, good bolsters on them. Obviously be nicer in leather, but nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong at all. Rear wheel drive powertrain. I do like these 18-inch alloy wheels. They look a bit small in the car, but the ride comfort they give you is quite impressive. And I've generally driven the ID3 on the 19s. I don't think I've driven it on the 18s, so that's noticeable how smooth it is. Now obviously if you go over a pothole, a Cupra setup is generally aimed at being a bit sportier. With that in mind, they have definitely left the sharpness of the steering intact. Even with the weight of this car, it's still there. That's impressive. The regen is just a B selection on your shifter. You flick that down and you can feel resistance when you lift off the accelerator. It works away in the background, does the job nicely. It's quite a low down position. I know people sort of like this higher up situation sometimes. You do feel quite low down in this car. It's kind of got a bit of a go-kart feel to it. Brakes are good. It bleeds off any sort of speed that you want to kill off pretty easily. And it's brisk as well, and into a corner. Whee! Okay, you do feel the weight of the car, but it's all right. Like, there's no real body roll to speak of. Mind you, I wouldn't really expect there to be with a ground-up EV. So we floor it. You might get a bit of slip out of the traction because, again, rear-wheel drive. It's nicely planted. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I've driven the Formentor, obviously even the full-fat 300 brake horsepower version of it, and I do feel like, obviously it doesn't sound like it, but you don't feel like you're driving an alien car to those cars. It's actually quite interesting, the real difference between 18-inch alloy wheels. It's noticeable. Still have your large A-pillar, like the ID3, the glass window just right at the front of that. It does afford you a bit of a view, but could potentially be, I don't want to call it a blind spot, but it's just there. You know, it's like having two pillars, whereas most cars have one. And yeah, that 204 brake horsepower, I mean, the boost idea, that's an interesting one. It's nice as well that it's there because, again, if Cupra is the sportier brand, it should have something else power-wise. I don't know if you can pick up that noise. I mean, it might be insulated on the windscreen, but you do hear for the outside world, all right. And if you are going to use this car around city environments, it is quite light. Do we have any car mode settings where we can drive profile? Oh, we do. Oh, hang on. Performance. Okay, there's even more rear wheel slip going on there. I don't want to say it's a bit noisier because it's more of a thing. You can individually set up your settings in the car as well. Configuration. Have we got dampers? Have we got dampers? So steering comfort, air conditioning, because that's one of the big things about some of the Cupras is the damper control, or the dynamic chassis control, not there. Okay. Performance. What is range? Gives you more range? 315. 309. Let's put the steering into performance mode. Now let's see what it's like. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I do like that about Cupra, I have to say. I mean, they're all coming from essentially the same place in terms of a car company, but they have done enough things physically to look at, and maybe even just ever so slightly to drive, that it actually feels like a slightly different product. And that's probably a hard thing to do for designers and engineers, but Cupra seem to have that nailed. You can, of course, all your e-settings are there, so you can time your charging, max it to 80% if you don't want to charge it all the time. Do let me know if you're driving an electric vehicle. Do you charge to 100% all the time? Do you stop it at 80? A lot of manuals say you should stop it at 80. What do you do? I really like this. And then just when you're getting going, a lollipop person stops out in front of you. But you know what? I'm sitting beside a school and I'm not pumping emissions into their lungs. That's kind of cool. So yeah, I like the overall feel. I think they've just got that sporty edge feel to it. Whether it's in my head or not, I don't think it is. I think it's the whole package. But it lends itself to a kind of sporty drive. So the Born is here, and yeah, it was worth the wait. Kind of what I expected, but also some nice treats and additions and colour and contrast and textures going on in the car. Biggest surprise is the starting price after grants. I'm just going to read some notes because I'm just getting to grips with the car. So those Cyclone alloys are standard. The bucket seats, 12-inch screen. Interior ambient lighting, which you can change the colour of, is nice. Keyless go. Digital cockpit is standard. Rear view camera is standard. 2-zone air conditioning. Sports suspension. Aluminium pedals as standard. Wireless charging. Heated steering wheel. Lane assist, traffic sign recognition. Adaptive cruise control. And a 3-year service plan with a Cupra welcome pack. All in this car. What's not to like? Electric is getting interesting, lads, and this is going to really disrupt the market, I think, in a good way for Cupra. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got comments, suggestions, questions, you'd like to subscribe, or you'd like to Patreon us, details of all the links, including the prices when we get them, the exact price of the car, in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching.